Hello everyone, I am Archana Joshi, your spiritual friend. Lord Prannath Global Consciousness is our mission and race towards awareness of global spiritual awakening. We believe humanity is passing through a unique stage of spiritual development. I am happy to introduce Mr. Raman Bhai Patel from Minnesota, USA and Mr. Manu Bhai Patel from Canada. They are from Lord Prannath Divine Center of Macon, Georgia, USA. Mr. Casey Vas from New Delhi is also here for this mission. We are all assembled in Nijanand Ashram, Vadodara in India. Mr. Casey Vas is the author of two research theses. First is Tartam Sagar Ke Moti in Hindi. It was published as a book in the year 2005 by Prannath Mission. Its title translates in English as Pearls from Ocean of Tartam. Now Tartam is an abbreviation of Tartam Vani, a compilation of 14 books containing a total of 18,758 divine verses. These verses poured out of one known by the title today as Mahamati Prannath. It happened in 17th century India during 1657 to 1694 AD. In the title of next research thesis in English that has been posted on our website www.nijanand.org, Mr. Vyas termed Tartam Vani as 17th century revelation. It has not yet been published in book form. Both these theses of Mr. Vyas run into well over 500 pages. In these books, Mr. Vyas has attempted to bring out underlying intents of quite a few enigmatic statements of mainly the Hindu scripture and a few of Bible too. He says it was possible to do so only in light shed by the divine verses of Tartam Vani. But for that, Mr. Vyas says he had to collate Hindu scriptures with Tartam Vani to discern an outline of a hitherto undisclosed plan of God. That effort enabled him to develop a unique concept of interloka spiritual linkages. That concept helped Mr. Vyas to grasp and explain many underlying intents of ancient scriptures and also of Tartam Vani that he calls as 17th century revelation. He asserts that disclosure of Tartam Vani had really descended from highest level of reality of God, the Purushottam of Gita. Those descended in our world via the spiritual linkages of two personages, Mahamati Prannath and his Sadguru Sri Devachandra Ji. They were the ones who became instrumental in giving the divine wisdom of Tartam Vani to whole world in 17th century India in a few vernaculars of India, not in Sanskrit. Mr. Vyas says that Tartam Vani alone has clearly specified three realms of God, the loka of Hindu scripture. Scriptures had very vaguely pointed at those three levels. Mr. Vyas located several verses of Tartam Vani and arranged them in a logical sequence only to realize that those conveyed something different from what they were traditionally interpreted as. He conceptualized that God must be established spiritual linkages among 12,000 embodied entities present in each of these three major realms of God, loka as these are termed in Hindu scripture, as also in Tartam Vani. Mr. Vyas says that these three lokas are governed by same one God, but he governs them via three levels of his power of consciousness. As such, God only seems to have threefold existence in the three lokas in the form of three Purushas. Mr. Vyas cogently brings out that Tartam Vani has rendered great assistance to the evolved spiritual aspirants of all world faiths and also to the rest of mankind in walking on a path of integral enlightenment. It is bound to help the troubled humanity of present times to usher in a new age of peaceful living with guidance coming from their respective scriptures, only further enriched by Tartam Vani. But it can happen only after they realize that what Tartam Vani often says, it asserts, all scriptures are arranged by the same God in different times, cultures and languages to cater to the need of humanity as would have risen then. Further, Mr. Vyas explained with some clarity that the verses of Tartam that poured out of Mahamati Prannath had descended in our world via spiritual linkages of two divine Paratmas located at highest of the said three realms, namely the Aksharatit Lok. The findings of Mr. Vyas have impressed me. I hope those would be helpful to others. By grasping spiritual truth revealed by Tartam, spiritual aspirants who live in accordance with guidance drawn from these respective scriptures can learn about a divine plan of a truly just and kind God. He has planned to distribute his highest spiritual rewards to best 12,000 men and women out of the entire humanity in a short span of 1200 years, beginning from 17th century. Tartam calls it as a period of Jagni, to prophesy that the spiritual insight gained by mankind during this period shall establish an unheard global peace and harmony, but also after this period ends. So, Mr. Vyas, let us start with a brief review of what you found after Tartam Vani was collated with scriptures, keeping before us the sketch you prepared to explain your all-important concept of spiritual linkages.
Now, I got some questions when I go through with your Tartam Sagar ke Moti books. How would you describe your journey through scriptures? And you are an engineer. How did you get attracted to scriptures and spirituality? Further, I understand that you were once frustrated with the key Hindu scriptures like Gita, Bhagavad, Ramayana and Yoga system, and even with the Holy Bible. How did you connect with Tartam Vani? And please let us know how it collated with the scriptures.
Mr. Vyas, in connection to the question raised by Mr. Raman Bhai, I believe I go through your book, Tartam Sagar ke Moti, and another book which is unpublished, the 17th Century Revelation. I would like to add my question as well, and you can club both the questions into one answer,
sure,
if it is possible for you, and our viewers may enjoy the answer from you. First, I will go with the two questions. Why do you think there is an urgency to convey its message now? The followers of testaments also are presently seen talking of a new age, end times, etc. How relevant are Tartam Vani's relations to them, and also to those of other faiths? From my study of your two books, I feel both may create some excitement among them, thinking their views are collaborating by Tartam Vani. Also, I like to add one more question here. Can you throw light on few key revelation of Tartam Vani to let our audience have glimpse up of your research in it?
Okay. Let me first review some reasons for the frustration that I experienced when studying the so-called extensive Hindu scriptures. I have been an engineer, always accustomed to dealing with well-established scientific formulations and not simply conjectures. That very frame of mind had perhaps caused that frustration. Scriptures did not seem to provide definitive answers to all my queries. Hindu scriptures say that ultimate reality called God, or Brahma in Sanskrit, and its relationship with human beings, that is their souls or jivas, is very difficult to grasp and even more difficult to realize. They all said the human nature governed by Maya, a power of God, keeps them focused on God's creation rather than on Him, the Creator. It doesn't really provide to mankind strong enough an urge to realize their relationship with God, even when, as per the scriptures, it should be their sole objective to do so when existing in His creation. Scriptures say, while leading past lives, we had not realized that objective. That is why we could not get liberated from the bondage of repeated reincarnations, resulting in our having to face the misery in present birth. Scriptures add that only sustained life after life efforts under the guidance of a Satguru, one who has realized that objective of human existence, is essential. Well, only this much became clear with help of my need-based perusals of translations and commentaries, mostly in Hindi, of several scriptures that I could consult. I had never studied Sanskrit or philosophy as a student, yet, being born in a religious Hindu family, I was encouraged to study scriptures and follow their guidance. I followed that advice only to find my intellectual curiosities growing, not really satisfied. In due course, I also connected with mystical literature, that of Theosophical Society, that based on psychical researches, including the psychic readings given by a devout Christian named Edgar Casey, etc. I also could fortunately have, from time to time, several Bhrigu Samhita readings. All of them corroborated the Hindu concepts of reincarnation and life after life existence of mankind. Yet, I was left with frustration that I did not gather all spiritual truths, particularly concerning the highest level of God's reality. I found varying viewpoints employing different terminologies on this topic, even in one and the same scripture. Even Bhrigu Samhita readings that I secured for over a decade did not explain the highest level of reality using the terminology of Tartam Vani. But things changed after the end of 2000 AD.
Let's stop here. In simple terms, what do you really mean when you speak of highest level of God's reality? Does Bhagavatam, that is often cited in Tartam Vani, explain that? We all are curious about this one.
No. Bhagavatam on its own does not elucidate the highest reality. That is done in a terse yet incomplete manner only in Gita. Tartam Vani hardly ever refers to Gita, but it often cites some ancient incidents pertaining to Shri Krishna and gopis as narrated in Bhagavatam. It says those hold crucial contemporary relevance to spiritual seekers, the Paramahansas for whom Bhagavatam was composed. To realize that, it needs to be collated not only with Bhagavatam but with many other Hindu texts. Still, from following discussion you will hopefully realize that Bhagavatam had indeed played a crucial, although an indirect role in 17th century India in initiating the manifestation of Tartam Vani itself. All that is not so easy to explain, yet I would attempt to do so in the following manner. I could see that an imperishable Akshara reality was only pointed at in the scriptures, although not properly explained. But human beings normally possess only a limited capacity to contemplate upon and perceive the perishable Kshara realm or Loka, the vast habitat that mankind dwells in. But all scriptures do say that aspirants can spiritually experience a higher imperishable Akshar reality only if right efforts are made. But in verses 16 to 20 of the 15th chapter of Gita, they seem to complicate the issue by tersely yet explicitly asserting the existence of a yet third, the most superior reality of Purushottama or Paramatma. Those verses did not, however, correlate the term with all others used in Gita, such as Brahma, Brahmadham, Paramdham, etc. Now, most of these remaining terms were often found in other scriptures also, but much less than the term Purushottama. They projected Brahma to be an imperishable but formless substratum wherefrom all forms are created and again annihilated cyclically. Did this apply simply to Kshara level of reality or Akshar also? I felt the following should have been clarified by them for spiritual aspirants. Which of the two realities that exist at levels higher than perishable Kshara, the one where mankind is located, is really the Brahma? Is it the Akshara or one superior to it, say Aksharatita level of reality? That is the Purushottam of Gita. Again, the verses 19 and 20 of 15th chapter of Gita seemed suggesting that an aspirant should aim to so comprehensively know the Purushottama as not to leave any further doubt about it. It is further said that an aspirant can be said to have done all that is really required of him or her to do when Purushottama is comprehensively known. But what would be reward of such an effort? How would it differ, if at all, from those when only one or both the lower levels are known? I felt that too should have been clarified by Gita and scriptures, where other rewards of lower order, with lesser efforts, made available to aspirants leading to commensurate lower level spiritual destinations. Did Gita suggest that the reality of Aksharatama would then consider the aspirant as qualified enough to experience it and even get liberated forever from the clutches of Maya? Now, Maya is said to keep the entire mankind focused on only Kshara world, not beyond. But no other scripture provides any information on highest reality of Purushottama. Wherefrom can any aspirant gather comprehensive knowledge when not even any material is given? Again, scriptures mention 7 to 8 types of moksha or mukti that most consider to be synonyms for liberation from repeated reincarnations. Scriptures even name various types of liberation such as Salokya, Sayujya, Jivanamukti, etc. But they do not clarify whether either the same or different spiritual destinations are provided by them by way of rewards. Whether the same rewards are provided or many other, it's not explained. Again, the scriptures do not insist on first knowing the Purushottama as Gita does. In that backdrop, following query needed to be answered clearly. Would comprehensive knowledge concerning the Purushottama provide the highest spiritual destination? And also, whether an aspirant retains his subjective identity so as to experience the bliss of such an experience? That is important. No answers. When it came to Purushottama or Paramatma, many queries remained unanswered. Why? Queries about imperishable Akshara reality too are not answered by scriptures. They are just not answered. They instead adopt a practice of first describing the perishable Kshara reality and then declaring that is not what is the imperishable Akshara reality is. This is the well-known neti practice of scriptures. Such scriptural statements would perhaps have left most scholars of the past and present with not much of a choice.
You speak about neti, that is from the Vedas, I believe?
Yeah.
Okay.
All the scriptures, they talk of neti, that is not this, not this, not this.
Okay, great.
They describe Kshar and then they say neti. It is something higher than that.
Yeah.
That happens for Akshar reality.
Okay.
Aksharatiti is never discussed.
Yeah. Okay.
They had to choose, the scholars, they had to choose from one of the two, either to fill up those blanks left by the scriptures based on their earthly intellects, or to keep Purushottama well out of the purview of their inquiry. Thus, neither the scriptures nor the scholarly commentaries allowed me to know even little about Purushottama, leave alone doing that comprehensively. That left me with a distinct impression that human intellect has its limits when it comes to speculate on what has been or what has not been revealed by scriptures for whatever reasons. But it was reasonably clear that the reality of God is not of homogeneous consistency as per Gita. A short but crisp text that most Hindus revere as being the most important text concerning the spiritual issues. But it was also clear that the reality of God is of a stratified type, as if spread over three measure realms or lokas that are often collectively called Triloki. Tying three lokas with three Purushas of Gita, Kshara, Akshara and the most superior, the Aksharatit or Purushottama, it looked as if every Purusha has within his own consciousness a loka of his own. But again, Gita asserted that Purushottam is really the Ishvara, the master of all three lokas. It's amazing. It either implies that the other two Purushas, the Kshara and Akshara, do not have any role whatsoever to play, or at best they play a subordinate role to that of the Purushottama or the Aksharatit Purusha, even while governing their respective lokas, that is Akshara and Akshara. On top of it, Shri Krishna, even when still being present in a human form in our perishable loka, declares to Arjun that he was that Purushottama. How can that be? Then, in verse 18/66 of Gita, Shri Krishna told Arjuna, or to any other devotee for that matter, like you and me, that he should abandon all efforts other than to seek the refuge in him. That is, he is telling Arjuna this.
Okay.
He should seek refuge only in Shri Krishna. Perhaps he pointed at his divine abode. But where is it?
Even Krishna?
Okay. But where is it? Where did he go to after performing all those divine deeds in the world? Goloka, Brahmadham, where? How should the devotees reach there? Such queries remain unanswered. It is also of crucial importance to grasp that what Shri Krishna said in 15th verse of 15th chapter of Gita, that is very important verse. He asserted that he truly is both the revealer of all the truths,
Okay.
and also the revealed reality. It was the case since most ancient times, and also at the time he delivered the discourse of Gita over 5,000 years ago from today. In my opinion, we should not overlook a possibility that God might have subsequently revealed some more truths right till our times, or may do so even in future to cater to the needs of later times. But most Hindus and even the followers of other faiths would sure have inhibition to accept that the same God might have revealed some more truths later, say to augment those good old scriptures, for example Testaments, Bible and Quran of West Asian origin. Converse too may also be true. Are all scriptures accepted as revelations of the same God? Similar event occurred in India long back. Even when Bhagavatam was later composed by the same revered sage Ved Vyasa, that is after Gita, he had earlier composed the massive, over 100,000 verses long epic of Mahabharata, of which the discourse of Gita of 700 verses is only a tiny part. He had also composed several Puranas around the same time, Bhagavatam perhaps being the last one. Now we have it that he composed Bhagavatam to guide some much evolved aspirants called Paramahansas, who were expected to appear much later, when in the worsening times of Kali Yuga, other sages had difficulty in believing in its effectiveness in enlightening those Paramahansas. other sages. They thought all required truths were already recorded in scriptures, Vedas, Gita, etc. Those can effectively guide them, they thought. This much has been quite clearly recorded in Mahatmya portion of Bhagavatam. By whom and when was Bhagavatam's effectiveness then demonstrated to those doubters? It was done by 4 sages who are collectively known as Sanak Adi, at a time when 260 years of Kali Yuga had elapsed, meaning that 260 years had elapsed after Shri Krishna left for his eternal abode. Briefly put, Mahatmya tells us that evil tendencies of Kali Yuga had prospered much by then, and the rulers had abandoned their path of dharma. But what is difficult for me to swallow is this. At that time, Yavanas, the invaders of India from its west, having gained control over it, that is over India, were destroying temples and other places of pilgrimage. Now, such a demonstration of effectiveness of Bhagavatam is narrated in a highly symbolic, even in a dramatic manner. But history tells us that those acts of invaders had occurred around 9th to 10th century AD. That is only 1000 years ago, earlier, before today. Say after 4000 years of Kali Yuga had elapsed. That is thousands of years later than the time pointed at in Mahatmya. It surprises that distortion in time factor of an event of such a magnitude was not pointed out by the learned commentators of all our scriptures. They have not pointed out this. It is difficult to say whether they simply overlooked it, or was it given a deliberate gloss over, thinking it was only to be expected. That is expected in such symbolic narrations. I would humbly say that it might have happened owing to a third factor: lack of awareness on their part of what occurred in 1618 AD in Jamnagar, located in Saurashtra coast of Gujarat, India. I would say that said event, narrated symbolically in Bhagavatam, was perhaps an allegoric disclosure of a future event prophesied to occur around 4700 years of Kali Yuga, when they had elapsed. That is, in the 17th century India. It occurred during lifetime of 1581 to 1655 AD of Sri Devachandra Ji. He was the Sadguru of Mahamati Pranath and other disciples. Utility or effectiveness of Bhagavatam for the aspirants of Paramahansa caliber really got demonstrated when the Sadguru, after 14 long years of sustained contemplation of that text, was rewarded with an audience by none other than the Aksharatit Purushottama. That's the highest spiritual reward that one can get. In that experience, many more truths, as are not given out even in Bhagavatam, were revealed to him, that is the Sadguru. Sadguru was informed, perhaps in his Samadhi-like state, that is called Turiyatita. Although people know me by the name of Shri Krishna, I really am the Aksharatit Purushottama, not the one who was present in Ksharaloka at the time a discourse was given by Shri Krishna to Arjuna, not only of that time, not in Kshara. The Sadguru was also then told that there were a total of 12,000 like him, like Sadguru, and that he should endeavor to search them out and inform them the truths that were being revealed to him, etc., etc. This amazing incident is really a forerunner of the wisdom that the Sadguru verbally passed on to his disciples, who gathered around him, including Mahamati Pranath. It continued to happen till he expired in 1655 AD. Then, from 1657 AD onwards, he began passing on more divine truths from some subtler plane where he existed, not this gross world, perhaps using some yogic power. It kept happening from time to time. Thus, several divine truths got manifested right within the heart of Mahamati Pranath. Whatever he uttered in a poetic form of quatrains used to get instantly transcribed by his disciples. That went on happening during 1657 to 1678 AD. And Mahamati Prannath is said to have uttered over 8,000 divine verses of Tartam Vani during this period, 1657 to 78. That divine knowledge would surely have illuminated his heart in the year 1678. The Tartam Vani itself says that such an audience can occur, that is audience with Purushottama, can occur only when a Paratma linked with any Brahma Srishti caliber person sheds her delusion and awakens to her presence right before her Lord. The Purushottama, present not in this world but in Aksharatita Loka. Her experience, that is the Paratma, she is a female Paratma, her experience then descends down to respective Brahma Srishti owing to her subjective identification of long standing with that Brahma Srishti. These are long, earlier established spiritual linkages. Anyway, her experience then descends down to the respective Brahma Srishti owing to her subjective identification of long standing with that Brahma Srishti, who then feels as if he or she, that is the Brahma Srishti present in our world, too is present right before Aksharatit Purushottama.